Welcome back to Autism Live. We are going to go right now via Skype to join Dr. Lamar Hardwick. He is a pastor. We have had him on the show before, and we're thrilled to have him back again. He is a gentleman who has an amazing job as a pastor, is married and has children, and at the age of 36 was diagnosed with autism. So you can imagine that's quite the story. And we've had him on before to talk about that. But it is such a good story. In fact, I think when you were on the last time, Dr. Hardwick, we talked about who's going to play you in the movie. That I was the person who said that about who's going to play him in the movie. Because I think at some point there's going to be a movie about your life. And I think the book is just one of the next rung in the ladder to make that happen. And so he's written a book. So Dr. Hardwick, talk to us about the book and what it's about and why you felt so compelled to write it.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me back on.
We're thrilled to have you back on.
So last time we spoke, I was sort of in the beginning stages and still am, being diagnosed just over 2 years ago. And I talked about a lot of the struggles that I had as a child and not really being able to fully understand what was going on up until the time that I actually became the pastor of the church I'm at now. And so over the last, I guess, year and a half since disclosing my diagnosis to my church, my congregation, I've been doing a lot of writing, a lot of blogging for different sites, articles, and a lot of people wanted to know my story, wanted to hear more beyond just 1,000-word blog. And so I took to writing, and after about a year or so, was able to complete the project and find a publisher. So the book just kind of walks through some of the things that I've never really talked about that I struggled with as a child. Now that I actually have a way to describe what I was experiencing all the way up until becoming a pastor. And it also kind of gives some advice and some insight onto how I've learned how to manage things, not that I've got it all down. And so I think it's something that speaks to people who are impacted by autism, but also in a general sense, people who struggle with any sort of issue that maybe society feels makes them weak, and how to leverage those things as strengths and becoming better people.
And certainly there's a thread about this that contains your spirituality as well. I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but we just were showing the cover of the book, and there's a cross on the book, and this is a part of who you are. How does being a pastor inform and help you with dealing with the different issues that you've had to go through?
I think the main thing is, in the Christian faith, a big word that you hear a lot is grace. And so when I was diagnosed, I got a new understanding of what that meant, particularly because of all the grace that had been extended to me over the years for some things that I possibly wasn't even aware that I was doing in ways that I was impacting people. And so as a pastor, I've learned and how it's informed my life is I've learned how to be much more gracious and to also to teach others, especially in the world that we live in now, is to always try to refrain judgment, because you never know exactly what a person is dealing with, and to be more loving and be more accepting and more inclusive of those who are different than us.
Well, grace is an amazing, amazing word and an amazing thing. One of our viewers wanted to know, at your church, are you leading the general population? Is there a special needs ministry, or is it both?
It's both. So am what is referred to as a lead pastor, or some circles refer to as a senior pastor. So I lead the entire church, but over the last 18 months since disclosing my diagnosis, we've developed and are continuing to develop our special needs program. We've actually had a lot of children that are on the spectrum that have already have been successfully integrated into a lot of the classes that we have and groups that we have for our children on Sunday, and we're working harder to make sure that we have the appropriate facilities and accommodations. And so it's a work in progress, but we've also been able to open up the conversation about what it means to be communities of faith that are intentional about including people with special needs and disabilities.
I can't even imagine the impact that you have been able to have had on your community, both your church and your community, because to be who you are and to be in a position of spiritual strength and to regularly get up in front of your parish and your community and demonstrate the strength that you're talking about, and to be a role model for those children and those teenagers and those families who are maybe dealing with autism, maybe dealing with something else. I can only imagine the powerful impact that has had. What kinds of things are you aware of? Has somebody come to you and said, this is amazing because I would not have known that my child was on the spectrum had you not disclosed? Have you seen, I'm sure you have. What comes to mind for you?
Actually, there have been a number of teenagers and young adults that have been also diagnosed since I've disclosed my diagnosis, just because the stories that I've shared have been so eerily similar that it caused them, parents, to investigate a little bit more. And so that's been helpful, and not just with autism, but with other issues such as anxiety disorders and those types of things. I think it's given people the courage to understand that we're all human, and having struggles and issues does not make you weak; it makes you human. And so it's opened up a conversation that I think churches need to have more of. And in addition to that, I've actually taken on a number of teenagers and young adults as mentees who are on the spectrum, that I actually mentor, some local and actually some across the country, that I would do FaceTime or Google Hangout sessions with. So that's been helpful as well.
Amazing. And so when we really want to encourage people to get your book, where can they get the book?
A couple of ways. So they can order it directly through my publisher, which is Electio Publishing. That's ELECTIO publishing.com. If you go through them, you will get a free e-copy of the book with your paperback. But also it's on your other major online stores such as Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and other online bookstores.
And we've been talking today, our theme for this week is what's your thesis? So I got to ask you, what do you think the main thing when people are done reading your book and they set it down, what's the main thing that you hope that they've gotten from it?
The main thing I'm hoping that people will get from it, for those who are impacted by autism, but even those who may not be, is for us to get to a place where we can truly just be ourselves. I think that's kind of the journey that I take people on, is to understand, in my faith, we believe that you're made in the image of God. And so despite whatever it is that you struggle with, understand that, you're made in that image, and it's okay to be you.
It's a powerful, powerful lesson. And for people who want to know more about your church, tell us, how would we find out more information about where you are pastor?
All right, my church is located in LaGrange, Georgia. Our website is NCC, N as in Nick, ncclagrange.com. And you can go on the website and find out all the information about our church, about a lot of the wonderful things that we're doing. You can view past messages, so you'll be able to find everything you need to know about the church on the website.
You're
We also have a
I'm sorry.
We also have a Facebook page, New Community Church, LaGrange, Georgia.
Okay. You're a powerful, powerful man, and you're a powerful wordsmith, too. You mentioned before that you had been writing blogs, and we can't leave without mentioning that you've been a big contributor for The Mighty, and that people probably have read your blogs because you've written a wide variety of subjects that have grabbed people's attention. You are a really wonderful writer, and so we really want to encourage people to not only get your book, but a great gift to be able to give to anybody who might be thinking that getting a diagnosis isn't one of the best days of your life. I know that's really hard for parents of little kids to understand, but to be able to put it through the filter of you. I remember when we talked to you about a year and a half ago for the first time, and I asked you, what was it like on the day that you were diagnosed? And you said, I'm going to paraphrase, but you said, well, I got to meet myself for the first time. And I always have remembered that because I just thought it was one of the most beautiful things that I'd ever heard. And it's given me a level of peace with my son's diagnosis, reminding myself that this is not something to be mourned. This is who he is. We need to find the way to not make it negative and not make it something that's a disablement with a period at the end of that there are ways to help and support him. But, I do think of that from time to time, Pastor Hardwick, about you saying, I got to meet myself for the first time. And the beauty of that. You're a wonderful wordsmith.
Oh, thank you.
So we really want to encourage people, get the book. And Samantha, I'm going to ask you to put it up on the screen again one more time. And not only help yourself to understand from the point of view of somebody who's so particularly good with words, but it's also an inspirational message too that I think is really important. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Powerful, powerful message. Dr. Hardwick, we really thank you for taking the time to be with us. And I know we were going to have you with us last week and we had some technical difficulties with Skype, but we persevered and you persevered, and we really want to thank you for joining us again this week.
Thanks again for having me.
Really thrilled. Take care and say hello to your family.